Hi there, Asal, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-Step System to Pass the TOEFL IBT. This is your TOEFL online course, and you're one of my students, and you just sent me an email just a while ago, and let's take a look at your question. You say, I have a serious problem with integrated speaking part. I cannot understand how I should connect the information in the reading to the listening. In fact, I cannot figure out the main point in the reading, but I can understand the listening in general. In the practice 7 through 10, I cannot complete, you say none of them. You want to say, I cannot complete any of them. Just give me a hint. Okay, so let's go over to the website for a minute, and let's take a look and see which ones you're talking about. The main thing is you have to be really good with your note taking. I'm going to show you something that you need to do when you're taking your notes. Keep in mind, Asal, I've interviewed dozens and dozens of students who have scored over 100, and every single one of these students told me that they took notes during all sections of the TOEFL exam, especially during the reading. They did. They take notes in the reading section of the test. Okay, let's take a look at, somebody go to speaking section. This is the wrong one, but by the way, if you ever need to take a full-length TOEFL IBT practice test, go to my step 8 of my course and you can learn more about that. Okay, let's go to the speaking section. Okay, so for integrated, okay, oh yeah, these are tough. 7 through 10, this is probably the most difficult TOEFL speaking task there is. Reading, listening, speaking, academic. Now, remember that most students who join my course, one of the first things I tell them is they should be reading about 45 to 60 minutes every day. Magazines, newspapers, and longer books. You have to do that in order to concentrate, in order to catch the main ideas of the reading passages in both the reading, the speaking, and the writing sections of the IBT exam. All right, going back to your question. So first of all, you have to be able to get the main ideas of the reading and the listening. Ask yourself, what is the purpose? What is the writer trying to do during the reading? Now, if you're not sure about improving reading, you can go to my reading lesson number 1, and that will give you some great tips on note taking, and it will give you some good ideas on how you can learn to critically read a text so you won't have this problem. Okay, anyway, let's say that you read a passage and it's talking about maybe it's talking about how volcanoes can form mountains. Now, you should take notes just like this during the TOEFL exam. The first thing you want to do is state the topic of the reading passage. And then you want to state the topic of the listening passage. Maybe it gives an example of a mountain formed by a volcano, and then maybe it talks about Mount Fuji. This is really one of the most difficult things you have to do, is you have to get the topic of both the reading and the lecture, and you should state it. Let's say this means reading, that means the topic here. Let's put L here, which means the topic of the listening. Then you do something like this. And then when you get to the lecture, you'll say this, something like this. You have to say exactly this, but you're just kind of getting my point here. Now, what you should do in your notes is, when you look at the reading passage, try to think of maybe, let's say, 1 or 2 important details there. When you go to the listening, also, you want to find 1 or 2 important details. Now, this is the hard part, is now when you do the integrated speaking task, you have to put together in the topic sentence the topic of the reading and the listening. You'll do something like this. You'll say, the reading passage discusses how volcanoes can form mountains, and the listening passage gives an example of Mount Fuji, which was formed from a volcano. First of all, according to the reading passage, and then you will give 1, maybe 2 key points about the reading passage as it relates to how volcanoes can form mountains. Then you'll say, according to the listening passage, then you want to give 2 key points that discuss Mount Fuji and how Mount Fuji was formed from a volcano. Now, let's do it one more time. Now, I'm not going to give the 2 examples here, but we'll start off with your topic statement. And let's see how long this takes. Remember, you got 60 seconds here, but you don't want to take too much time on your introduction. You want to spend more time actually answering the question. So we'll say this. The reading passage discusses how volcanoes can sometimes form mountains, and the listening passage gives an example of a mountain that was formed from a volcano. That was 12 seconds. Now you got 48 seconds, and we'll get to the next part. We'll say, first of all, according to the reading passage, mountains can sometimes be formed by or from volcanoes. And then you give 2 examples. Then you'll say, second of all, according to the listening passage, Mount Fuji is a mountain that was formed from a volcano. And then you try to give 2 main points there, and you're pretty much done. That's it. This is really your template. This is how you can structure your ideas. But as you're pointing out, the hard part is you have to figure out what this main point is. This is important. Now, if you can't get that, that means you have to spend a lot more time in the reading section of my course, right? So you want to go through all the reading lessons, all the speed reading practice tests, follow all my tips in the reading section. If you do that, you should be able to give the main point of your reading passage. If you can't do that, you're not going to score very high on the academic speaking task, the reading, listening, speaking, academic. All right, so in conclusion to this video, I've given you an example or a template of how you can answer the reading, listening, speaking, academic. I think this is TOEFL speaking task number 4. You want to make sure that you state the topic of the reading and the listening passage first. And then you go, first of all, you talk about the reading, maybe 2 main points. And then second of all, you'll talk about the listening passage and give 2 main points there. And then that should be pretty close to 60 seconds. All right. Anyway, if you have more questions, send me another email.